who the teachers relied on? Mom and dad. Not the cops. But we think this is a neat thing. Let's put the cops in school. It's not a neat thing. You put these cops in these situations, and they use force, and I'm not making excuses for it, but some of the incidents that I saw, I said, wait a minute. He had to use force. His lawful command was not adhered to. He had to use force, but here's where we have to judge now on its reasonableness. Not could he have done something else. It's not what the law says. The law says we judge officers' actions on reasonableness. What he did under those circumstances reasonable? Under the circumstances, not what you would have done, not what you would have done, because I heard people, well, I would have done. I said, but you didn't get called, we did. And was it reasonable? And here's another thing about force. It's never pretty. It's not designed to be pretty, it's designed to be effective. And we teach our officers reasonably to end these confrontations quickly. Why? So they don't end up like Darren Wilson and Mike Brown. Doesn't end up in having to use deadly force. So you end it quickly. You decentralize. You see a cop taking somebody down to the ground. I heard it the other day referred to as body slam. No, we teach officers to decentralize. Get them on the ground or get them up against a wall so you can maintain control. Now, I don't expect you folks to agree or understand that, but the training is all certified by the state, the way we train our officers. Sometimes officers will do something they shouldn't do. Well, then that's my job. I sent a sergeant, one of my sergeants, to prison 5 years ago. Why? For beating a handcuffed prisoner in the back of a squad car. I'm not putting up with that nonsense. We're better than that. But see, that's my job. And I'm elected, by the way. The people in Milwaukee County want me making these decisions, and if I start making decisions that they're not happy with, they'll get rid of me. They'll get rid of me real fast at the election, at the ballot box. But as a law enforcement professional and as an executive, I get to be one of the judges or arbiters of that action, which is why they call me all the time on TV. What do you think about this? And I use my experience, having done that, having done it. I've been there. And I know how these things can spiral out of control in a hurry. If you don't end it quickly, like I said, it's not supposed to be pretty. And everyone, oh, did you see it? I said, it's not supposed to be pretty. It's supposed to be effective and reasonable. When cops get out of line, we have a process to deal with that. But here's what I don't want. I don't want somebody who has never done this job, who's not for one day in their life done it. I don't want them telling us how we should be doing this. Folks, that'd be like me trying to transform the medical community. I know nothing about medical science. I've never done that a day in my life, and I'm going to come in and say, well, the doctor should have done this, and how come the nurse didn't? I don't know what I'm talking about. I need to let the medical community figure that out. President Obama needs to let the law enforcement community and at the local level figure this out. And just because some cops go to the dark side and they do some things that, yeah, Walter Scott, South Carolina, ugly. I said it on TV. I said I was appalled by that, and I was. I said, I've never seen that in my life. But I know the difference between good policing and bad policing. And he was charged with a felony, and he'll pay for that. But because of these aberrations, and that's what that is an aberration. We want to change an entire profession because of an aberration. Do you know how dangerous that is? Because these people have not thought through the law of unintended consequences by trying to change this profession. It's going to have a profound impact on good law-abiding people. You know who pays the highest toll when you declare war on police officers? Good, law-abiding minorities in the ghetto pay the highest price. The president knows that. Eric Holder knows that. And then you want to tell me that Black Lives Matter? Oh, yeah? As far as I'm concerned, the group of people who truly care about the lives of other black people, the police officers who go down in these communities every day to serve and protect them, that's who really cares about black lives. And if black lives truly mattered to these, I had to catch myself there. If black lives truly mattered to these imbeciles, they would be right now 24/7 protesting in the city of Chicago, where in the first 3 months of the year, over 150 people have been murdered, mainly black, 84% increase over last year's first 3 months, and last year was bad, and over 800 people have been shot in the city of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, those sound like casualties after an armed conflict over in the Middle East. 150 dead, 800 wounded. Sounds like a fierce firefight, doesn't it? And here it's happening in the great city of Chicago. One weekend, not too long ago, 37 dead in a weekend. Same with Baltimore. After the Freddie Gray, when the police backed off, Memorial Day weekend, 37 people murdered. And what do? We kind of, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's... Well, if it's so terrible, then lay off the police. Because the police are the last line of defense down there for many of these folks. And like I'm going to say it again, the overwhelming majority of people down there are good, law-abiding people. They got to be defended. And it's only the cop that's doing it. It's not the politician doing it. It's not the cop hater doing it. It's not the anarchist doing it. It's not Black Lives Matter doing it. It's the American police officer. And if we want order restored to these cities where crime has taken a steep spike, if we want order restored, and if we really care about these folks, then get behind me and get these people to back off the American police officer. They'll go back to work. Here's what's happening. Your best policing is self-initiated policing. It's not answering the 911 call. If 911 has to be called, usually it's over, right? The incident already occurred. Got my house broken into, my car stolen, someone stuck a gun in my face and took my wallet. It's over. Your best policing is self-initiated policing, where that cop goes in and he or she develops the reasonable suspicion, because I believe in this Constitution and the rule of law, we have to have reasonable suspicion to stop somebody. And they look and they develop that reasonable suspicion. Hey, look at that car over there. And by the way, it's got expired plates. There's your reasonable suspicion to pull it over. The courts have already ruled the subjective intent of the officer, they said, does not matter. They say, was the stop legal? Yes, he had expired plates. Now you might say, well, that's just a small thing. No, it's not. And I'll tell you what you're going to find with self-initiated policing. When you make these stops, you're going to find people wanted on serious felony warrants that you can take to jail, get them off the street. You're going to find weapons possessed illegally that might be on the way to or were involved or away from some sort of armed robbery or shooting, and you can do the ballistics test and all of that. You're going to find illegal drugs. It is a treasure chest of criminal activity, self-initiated. No one sent the cop over to pull that car over. No one sent the cop over because those jamokes were hanging out on the corner. And the neighbors are calling and saying, police get those drug dealers off my corner, and we go and do it, and then we're the bad guy, according to Black Lives Matter. Well, there's not any real self-initiated policing going on right now. We can't make cops do self-initiated policing. We can only make them go to the 911 calls. So when people say that cops are doing this on purpose, no, they're not. You can't blame them. They don't want to be the next Darren Wilson, who, by the way, was cleared under the rule of law. And I remind people all the time, too, you're entitled to due process in the United States of America. You are not entitled to an outcome. You may not like what the grand jury did in New York with Eric Garner. I had some problems with it, but for a different reason. I wouldn't have sent the cops there to begin with for selling Lucy cigarettes. I would have said, tell them to send the State Department of Revenue over there. Why do we have cops doing tax collection work? You see what I mean when I say we get them out of their, what they're really good at and what they're trained to do? We have them now performing tax collection work. We're cops. We're not tax collectors. If you don't, you send a cop. Remember what I said? A lot can go wrong in a hurry. They had to take Eric Garner to jail. Eric Garner said, I'm not going to jail. Oh, yes, he was going to jail. And had he just put his hands behind his back like the officer said, you heard the audio, turn around and put your hands behind your back. If he'd have done that, Eric Garner would be alive today. But when they don't put their hands behind their back, you have to use force. And then everybody wants to get real technical. Well, why didn't they do it? This doesn't work like that in our world. The guy's going to jail. Now, it has to be reasonable, right? They can't pick him up by his ankles and start pounding it. That's not reasonable. But you all know what reasonable looks like. And then let the rule of law do its work. And more times than not, we're going to get the benefit of the doubt. People want to know, why was the cops always exonerated? Because of the rule of law. If we don't like it, then we should change the rule of law. You don't go after the cop for criminal prosecution. So this is what we're up against. We're going to win this. We won it in the 60s, the war on cops. We won it. It's going to take some time, but somebody's got to be out there defending the American police officer. I'm doing what I can. I'll do the heavy lifting. I just need you folks to cover my flanks and watch against sneak attacks and lay on your political leaders to back off these people, the cops.